Good evening, everybody, and welcome to Mind the Mental Monday 2026. We made it, y'all. We made it another year. I know that there were some times in 2025 where you might not have been sure, where you might have been feeling like, man, this 2025 is on something different. But guess what? You're here, you made it. And so we're going to thank God for bringing us through 2025 into this brand new year. I am so excited to be back. Can y'all tell that I actually took a break? Like, I took off 2 weeks from everything. And when I tell you that I am rejuvenated and just ready to not even get so much back on the grind per se, but just have some like sort of new perspective of how I'm moving in 2026. And one of the things that I'm planning to do, what I was really intentional about over the break, over the holidays, was presence, 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 ENCE, over presence with a T. Um, that really resonated with me over the holidays, and so that's what I was. I was present with my family and just focused on, spending time with them. One of the things that I got to do this go around is I had my baby girl, who you all saw a couple of weeks ago, Kayla. Normally, like they come home. I was happy to have all my babies home over the Christmas holiday at least. My son had to go back on Christmas night. We're not even going to talk about that. But because he's doing his career thing. So, but got to spend Christmas Eve and then most of Christmas Day with him before he had to get to the airport and get back to work. And my oldest daughter is here in near where we live, so I see her all the time now. And my baby girl, usually she's going back. She's either going back like the next day, or when she's here, she's out because she's seeing her friends that she's had since elementary school and that sort of thing. They're getting together. But this year, she actually spent time with us, and she just went back this morning, back to Atlanta, where she lives. So, and she got back safely. So praise God for that. But she actually spent time with us. Like she spent time just laying in my arms and just taking a nap. I was happy to see her sleep because she's working so hard. And just talking, just having conversations. And then one of the things I like to do over the holidays is watch The Sound of Music. It's one of my favorite musicals. And and I didn't get a chance to do it. I usually do it like around Christmas, but I did it last night. She and I, set up, with our hot chocolate and fig Newtons, watching The Sound of Music, and so that was really good. So I had a really great break and a great holiday, and I'm really grateful for just, God just still giving me breath, and just being able to really spend some time with my family and loved ones. So tonight, I want to talk about one of the things that we tend to do when we are approaching a new year is, we do things like we have all these vision boards and we make resolutions and all the things. And usually what happens is that, we make these vision boards and we make resolutions, and then within the first quarter, within month two, sometimes we've kind of morphed back into old habits that maybe we were trying to ready ourselves to get rid of, trying to do something different in the new year. So whenever a new year comes about, and for some people, New Year is January 1st, right, of the year, but for others, their New Year is their birthday. For my husband, that's kind of what he his new year is his birthday, and that's sort of the time that he sets aside to sort of reevaluate the past year and kind of goals that he might want to set for the upcoming year and that sort of thing. And but the concept of a new year brings up for us the desire to do something new, right? Because we've spent 12 months previously doing things however we did them. And then when the new year is approaching, a lot for many of us, it's a time of reflection and, of thinking back to, okay, what have I done over this last year and how did I approach life in this last year? What did I do when life was life? And, how did I handle things? And do I want to handle things the same way in this new year, or do I want to do something new? And for many people, it just conjures up for them this idea of, I want to do something new. I want to do a new thing. I want to be new in this new year. And that's sort of the thing, the thought of being new, doing something new, it kind of gets us excited and sort of hyped up, right, for the coming year. And so, but tonight, what I really want to talk about is this idea of new, because a lot of times we say that we want to do something new, and we say that we want to become new in some area of our lives, but we haven't defined for ourselves what exactly is that? Like, what does it really mean to be new? Like, what does new mean? And so a lot of times we haven't defined that for ourselves. And if we haven't defined for ourselves what it means to be new, or what it means to, do something new in a new year, what that means for us personally, then it's going to be very difficult for us to do something new, right? Because our minds, our brains work. Our brains like familiarity. Our brains like to do what comes easiest for us. And so what comes easiest for us is what we've always done, right? It's like whatever you've always done, it's like you're on autopilot with that. And so as with everything, and if you have not picked up a word on Mind the Mental Monday, you should have by now picked up the word intentional, right? Because everything we do must come with intention, right? Every change that we want to make must requires us to be intentional to take the steps necessary to change those patterns in our brains to do something new, something that we hope will bring a better outcome than maybe we have experienced before. And so new isn't a date. New is a decision to do something different. So let's just kind of start out with a definition of what it means to be new. New, and I want you to hear this clearly. You might even want to write it down so you understand what new means. New is the intentional disruption of old patterns that no longer serve who you are becoming. New is the intentional, this is what I just said. Didn't I just say that? Did I just say, if you didn't learn anything on Monumental Monday yet, if you haven't picked up any other word on Monumental Monday, intentional ought to be the one, right? New is the intentional disruption of old patterns that no longer serve who you are becoming. And when looked at that definition, when I saw that definition, it really resonated with me because we all of us have developed patterns over the years, right? Oh, we all have developed habits that we continue to do on a daily basis. And many of us, we all know the definition of insanity, which is, doing the same thing, expecting a different result. Yeah, believe yourself when you keep in the same old patterns, in the same old behaviors, um, you're going to get the same old result. And so if that result no longer serves who you are becoming, right? Who you are desiring to become, then you've got to intentionally break up that ground. You got to get your that whatever the tools that you need. When we have to break up cement, there's a jackhammer that they have to use, right? That just breaks up the ground. Sometimes when your pavement, any of you who are homeowners, or even if you're not a homeowner, you've been in areas on streets and blocks or whatever where there's pavements and some pavements get offline, right? They become raised because of whatever is happening underneath is causing it to raise up. And what happens when it raises up is that it can cause somebody to trip. And if somebody trips on your property, they can sue you, right? So a lot can happen just from allowing stuff to grow up under your cement and get and disrupt your foundation. And so sometimes what it requires is for us to take a jackhammer to it, break it up, pour new cement, right? Pour fresh cement that is leveled, that won't cause the trip up. But if you want to change, if you want to do something new, if you really want to break up that stuff that is causing you to get off balance, that is causing you to remain in the same predicament, the same situation, the same personality, the same way of dealing with stuff. If you really want to change that stuff, then you've got to be willing to put in the work to take that jackhammer and break that stuff up. So it's not so much a date, whatever date, you got to make the decision that that is what you want to do. And so when you are in the process, when you are desiring to do something new, it comes with the intention and the decision that you are going to make the changes that are necessary to smooth out that ground. I hope as they say, are picking up what I'm putting down. Like we spend so much time thinking about the new year and the popping bottles, or at midnight, uh, and watching a ball drop, or as I do prefer, bringing a new year in church, in prayer. That is my preferred way of bringing in the new year. Even back in the day when I was still, I was going out to the club, but I was going to bring the new year in church on my knees. I was going to be praying myself into the new year, and then I was going to go to the club afterwards. Now, that's probably not a good thing, but it is what it is. It's the truth. It is what I did back in the day. It is what I did. Y'all know I really do try to be transparent, and I'm being transparent. That's what I did. I don't think it was a bad thing because I wasn't out getting drunk and all that kind of stuff. I usually went out, usually it was a jazz club. I would go out, and just enjoy some nice jazz, into the wee hours of the morning. Or I might go somewhere where there's some dancing. I mean, I had a good time. and wasn't being too reckless or crazy. But that's what comes to mind when we think about the new year, starting off the new year. We think about, oh, let's create, and there's nothing wrong with doing vision boards. There's nothing wrong with developing goals that you want to set for yourself for the new year. There's nothing wrong with doing that, but somewhere along the line, a lot of times I think that we base new what we consider new on what other people are doing. So, oh, in this new year, I want to do this, this, and this because that's what that person did, and it seems to be successful for them. Well, it seems to be successful for them because it was theirs, right? It's what's meant for them. But you have to decide what is meant for you and what is new for you. What does the word mean for you? So if we're using as a working definition of new, intentional disruption of old patterns that no longer serve who you're becoming, only you can determine what those old patterns are that need disruption. Only you can determine what that is for you. And so, regardless of what anybody else says about what you need to do or what you should do, or what other people are saying that they're going to do in their new year, or what other people put on their board as their vision for themselves, none of that matters. Get all that stuff out your head because you could do something new, but if the newness doesn't match what is for you, if the newness doesn't match what is in your purpose, if the new thing doesn't match what you are becoming, then it is for naught. Because you're trying to do something what's new that might work for somebody else, but it is not what is meant for you. So I'm encouraging you tonight to think about what does that mean for you? I wasn't even trying to rhyme with that, but what does new mean for you? How can you define new for yourself? Um, and so here's something that I want you to reflect on. When I say I want something new, and this is for you. So when you say you want something new, what are you actually asking for? That's something for you to write for yourself, and that's something for you to reflect on. After this Mind the Mental Monday is closed out for the evening, and throughout the course of the week, this is something for you to sort of think on. When I say I want something new, what am I actually asking for? Think about that. What is it? And if you're willing, if you already know what that is and you're willing to share, please share it. Please put it in the chat because it could, while somebody else might not be able to use what's new for you, it might jog their thought process for what really is new, what they desire to be new for themselves. So put it in the chat. And this matters. The reason that this is important, that it is important for you to decide for yourself what new means for you, um, because if you don't have clarity around what it means to you to be new or do something new, then what happens is that you end up recycling old habits and old intentions. Again, you cannot do the same thing expecting a different result. If you want a different result for yourself, you got to do something new. But what is that newness for you? Because if you don't know it, if you can't define it, then how are you going to how are you going to shape it? How are you going to create it? How are you going to change? If you don't really know what that means for you. When your identity is not aligned with your goals, with who you are becoming, then that causes your growth to stall. We are all always evolving. We are always evolving. We are always growing. As long as we are on this earth, as long as we have breath in our bodies, we are constantly evolving. And so who I am at 57 is not who I was at 37 or 27 or 17. I have evolved. And if you feel like you haven't evolved, if you 50 and you feel like you still have the same mindset that you had at 30, then you really need to think about what it means to be new. What are you looking for? What do you really want to accomplish? What is new in your mindset? So here are some questions that I want you to think about as we're talking about this topic. Question number one, and I want you all to I want to remind you that I do have a blog site completely free, right? um, at www.benitaweathers.com. Go to my website, subscribe to the blog, because for my more recent Mind the Mental Mondays, I also have a blog that I do for that goes with these Mind the Mental sessions. And so you can go there. You will be able to find these prompts and these questions there as well. But you can also jot it down if you want to just jot it down as I'm speaking it to you. So I want you to pause and reflect on these questions. What am I tired of repeating? What am I tired of repeating? Question number two, what has outgrown me? Now, I love that question because usually we think of it from the perspective of what have I outgrown, right? But what has outgrown me? What no longer suits me? It could go both ways, right? What have I outgrown and what has outgrown me? And then the third question is, what version of myself am I trying to protect instead of release? Like, what version of myself am I trying to protect? Because you might be in a version of yourself that it's time to release. It's outgrown you and you've outgrown it. And it's time to evolve to another level. So new is it's not about becoming somebody else. You can't look at somebody else's vision for themselves and interpret that for yourself. It's not about becoming somebody else. It's about becoming more honest about who you already are and who you are becoming. Do you like who you're becoming? Because we can become in different ways, right? We can become better versions of ourselves, or not even better, but versions of ourselves that best fit the season that we're in. Or we can try to um, be a version of ourselves that we were 10, 20 years ago. I don't know about you, but I'm not trying to go backwards. People, I am not ashamed that I'm 57 years old. I'm not ashamed to say it. I bless God for it. Like, I'm grateful to God for every year of life that He gives me. I'm grateful for it. Ain't no shame in the game. I wouldn't want to be 37 no more. I wouldn't want to be 27 again. Because at 57, I've learned some things. I've experienced some life, and I am more confident in who I am. I'm more bold in who I am. And it's not arrogant. It's I'm okay with me. And if you're not okay with me, that's on you. Like, I have nothing to do with that, right? And I've finally arrived there. I wasn't always there. But at 57, I have arrived at that place. Well, actually, I arrived there a little before 57, but I'm just saying in my 50s, I'm just way more confident than I was in my 20s and 30s. Way more outspoken, way more, willing to um take some risks that maybe I wasn't willing to take in my 20s and 30s. And so it's not about becoming somebody else, but it's about becoming more honest about who you already are. What is new for you? That's what it's about. So I want you to, there are a few areas, there's four areas that we're going to talk about tonight, that as you are defining for yourself what it means to be new, and as you are thinking through these things, there are four areas that we're going to talk about. The first area is our thoughts. And that is something that we talk about all the time on Mind the Mental Monday. We talk about our thoughts. We've talked in the past about that stinking thinking, as my Aunt Carolyn always says, right? Like, that those thoughts that we allow, that's really sabotage our greatness. They're designed to sabotage our greatness. We don't have to give into those thoughts. We have the power and control over those thoughts. So what are those thoughts? Limiting beliefs, beliefs that you're not good enough, beliefs that you can't accomplish a goal that you're trying to accomplish, beliefs that somebody else is better than you. Beliefs that, a lot of times they might refer to it, what is that? I'm blanking on imposter syndrome. Where you feel like, you don't believe that you belong in a space where you are. Well, if you didn't belong in a space, you wouldn't be there. You're in the space because God has brought you to the space. So what are you going to bring to it? It's not about what somebody else in the space is doing or able to do. It's not about, um, even trying to outdo somebody else in the space. It's about what light do I bring to the space, and acknowledging that, right? Acknowledging that light that you bring to the space. So getting rid of those limiting thoughts, that negative self-talk, right? um Fear-based assumptions about yourself that are really steeped in the fear that you will fail. We've talked about that failure, that the fear of failure. Well, most people who are great, most people who are successful, depending on how you define successful, have had a series of failures to get to the success. Why? Because they had some lessons to learn along the way. And it's the lessons that they learned in the failure that allow them to be the success that they are today. So don't be afraid to make mistakes. Don't be afraid to mess up. We're human. We're not perfect. We're going to mess up sometimes. We're going to make some questionable and sometimes beyond questionable decisions sometimes. It's going to happen. But don't fear doing that. Learn from whatever that decision was so that you can perhaps make a new decision, a different decision as you move forward. So that first area that we want to evaluate, that you want to evaluate for yourself is your thoughts. Think about your thinking. That's what Mind the Mental Monday is all about. Mind the Mental is about thinking about your thinking, evaluating, taking time out of your day to evaluate where you are mentally. Evaluate the thoughts that are creeping up for you and what are the thoughts that you need to hold on to and what are the thoughts that you need to get rid of and replace with new ones. So evaluate your thoughts. So what thoughts do I keep rehearsing that no longer align with my goals? Right? That's the question to ask yourself as you're evaluating your thoughts. The second thing to evaluate are your ideas and vision. Evaluate dreams that you have delayed. And again, a lot of times we delay dreams because of fear, right? Fear of failure. It goes back to that again. We fear messing up. But go in it, do it. Yeah, you might mess up. Okay. What's the worst thing that can happen? You mess up. I mean, really, when you think about it, it's the worst thing that can happen. You messed up, didn't do it right this time. You learned what to do and what not to do. That sometimes learning what not to do is even better than learning what to do. This is what I don't know about the rest of the stuff, but this is what I know I'm not going to do, right? Um, Goals shaped by fear or convenience. Again, our brains like to do what is easy. And so we tend to enjoy doing things that are convenient. And I'm guilty of that. I have to say, I am guilty of that. Stuff that seemed like it's going to take too long. I got to put too much effort. Like sometimes I'm just like, oh, I need the convenience. But then the goal that I have set for myself doesn't allow me to sit in convenience. It forces me to push past that and do the research that I need to do. You know, make the calls that I need to make, talk to the people that I need to talk to, whatever the case is, whatever it is. And it can be an inconvenience sometimes. Sometimes you got to actually like get up and move, right, to get stuff done. And it's just is what it is, right? And so when you're evaluating your ideas and your vision, ask yourself, what ideas have I outgrown? What ideas have I outgrown? Or what ideas have I never fully explored? Some of us have been given ideas, we've been given a vision for something, and we just don't do it. And so it's like we've never even tried. We get the vision, and then we're afraid to try, and then we don't, right? And so we don't even allow ourselves to explore it at all, let alone fully explore it. But I want to challenge you to do the thing. What is that vision that you've been given? And you've just been sitting on it. You've been sitting on it for days, weeks, months, years. The one thing for sure is that if you don't move toward getting it done, it's not going to get done. That's the thing you know for sure. But as my mama always said, at least try. At least try. What's the worst thing that can happen? If you don't try, nothing's going to happen, but at least you tried. And that gives you some more information about yourself that I tried. And so that I have the boldness to at least try. Maybe it didn't come out the way that I wanted it to, but I learned these things. So now I, I'm going to try it again. Or I'm going to try it a different way. Or I'm going to try something altogether different. But at least try. All right. The next thing that we want to evaluate when it comes to newness is relationships. Ah, and this is the tough one because the reality is there are some relationships that you are in right now that is draining you. It's draining you. It's not suiting you at all. Um, it's wearing you down and out. And that is always the hard thing because again, we like what's familiar. We like what's familiar, what's convenient, what's easy. We like that kind of stuff. It's not easy to let go of relationships with people that you've been in relationship with for a long time that no longer you're not even on the same wavelength anymore. Like you're not even moving in the same direction, but you're trying to hold on to this relationship because you're just used to it. It's just been there. It's been there for a long time. But when a tumor is anywhere in your body for a long time, it grows, it expands, it weighs on you, and it can even cut your life short. If you don't do something about it in the beginning, then if you just let it just hang on and just stay there and you keep feeding it and allowing it to grow, it's not going to suit you at all. And that might sound harsh, sort of referring to relationships sometimes as tumors, but sometimes the relationships can be draining. Sometimes some relationships are one-sided. Those relationships where you're the one that's always the one reaching out. You're the one always calling to check on somebody. You're the one that's always trying to connect. That those they can become draining because when you sit and realize that you're the only one really in this relationship, it can be hard. It can be painful and hurtful. And so it is important to assess your relationships and what needs to be new, what needs to change. There's some relationships where you can have a conversation with one that you're in a relationship with, and you can both grow together and evolve together, and things can shift and you can hold on to them. But then there are relationships where that's just not ever going to happen. And when you come to that realization, um, those relationships just, you need to do something new, create new relationships with people that are headed in the same direction that you are, with people that that have similar goals, that are trying to do something not just new, but that are just trying to grow. And there are people that might be engaging in behaviors that maybe you engaged with them, but now you're at a place where we're ready to move on from that. You've outgrown that, and you've outgrown that relationship. It's important to um, assess relationships that are built on old versions of you. My youngest daughter did a message on her TikTok that really resonated with me. And what she was, I'm paraphrasing, but what she was saying in her message is that she says, um, I'm no longer dealing with people who only want to deal with the old version of me. In other words, she has evolved as a young woman. She's not in the same place that she was a year ago, 2 years ago, 3 years ago. She's not that same person. She has evolved into this young woman that she is. And there are people in her life that are maintaining old habits and behaviors that she is growing. She's moved on from them. And she is no longer that same girl. And she has accepted that she's no longer that same girl. She is now this young woman. And people who don't embrace who she is now, she didn't say this, but they can kick rocks with bare feet. You know what I mean? Sometimes people just gotta go. I know it's easier said than done. I get it because I've been there. It's easy. It's much easier said than done, but you have to get to that place of being intentional about who you are becoming. You have to be intentional about breaking up that ground that is no longer that's no longer an even pavement that's going to trip you up and trip up other people too and cause you to get sued. So here's the question as you're evaluating relationships. Who has access to me that hasn't earned alignment with my future? Oof, my God, that's a heavy question. Who has access to me that hasn't earned alignment with my future? In other words, if you can't afford to get on this train and ride in the section that I'm riding in, you got to get off. And that's not about like money and resources and finances. It's not about that. But it's about, if you're not heading in the direction that I'm going, then we can't ride on the same train. A train can't go north and south at the same time. It can't go east and west at the same time. It can't. So who has access to me that hasn't earned alignment with my future? And then the last thing to evaluate with regard to new, what is new for you, is behaviors and habits, which we've talked about a lot. So patterns of avoidance, that dream that you have, that idea that you want to put forward, but you've been avoiding it. Again, because you're scared that it's not going to happen. You're not going to be able to do it. You're not going to accomplish it. All that stinking thinking that goes along with that. You're concerned about that. Overworking, procrastination, people pleasing, right? All of those things, all of those behaviors and habits are things that we need to evaluate. And so the question to evaluate that is what habits are familiar but not fruitful? What habits are familiar but not fruitful? And when I tell y'all, I got a whole slew of them habits, honest to goodness. And I honestly feel like every year, and this is one of the reasons that I actually the idea of new the newness actually came from um it was a like a workshop, like a virtual workshop that I participated in. Um that really sort of jump started this thinking about new, and it's like I couldn't shake it, like I couldn't shake this, like what does it actually mean to be new or to do something new? It that wasn't the same sort of direction that that person was coming from, but as that person was talking, that's what came to me. And so I started really just thinking about that, which is why I thought that it would be a good thing to talk about just after the new year on the first Mind the Mental Monday of the new year. So what habits are familiar but not fruitful? Because there's a whole lot of habits, and every year I feel like I come to the new year thinking I'm gonna do something new, I'm gonna change these habits and behaviors, and I go into the new year doing the exact same thing that I left in the previous year because it's what I've gotten used to doing. It's like I'm just on autopilot. Well, I have to turn off autopilot and create some new habits and new behaviors. Easier said than done. And so, I'm working on that, y'all. I'm a work in progress, just like you, right? We are all works in progress. But what we can do is support each other as we are evolving. What we can do is support each other in holding each other accountable. What we can do is, um, participate in the conversation and help each other in our newness journey. Um, so here are some, and I'm going to be wrapping up just in a few minutes, but I want to end this by just giving some practical tools that you can begin to use as you're on your newness journey, as you are discovering what new means for you, right? So this exercise is called Keep, Release, Develop. And what you're going to do is you're going to take a sheet of paper. You're going to create 3 columns. So that's 2 lines. That'll give you 3 columns. And in one column, you're going to put keep, their heading will be keep. In the next column, it will be release. And in the last column, it will be develop. So in the keep, you want to list what's working. Like what is working for you? Because everything ain't bad, right? You don't need to change everything. Everything don't need to be new. Some of the things that you're doing are, will work well, right? Um you don't have to change. So what are you going to keep? What has expired? What are you going to release? What has expired? Because I know that at least some of y'all in your pantry right now or in your cabinet, whatever it is, you probably got some spices that have expired that need to get thrown out. They do expire. You might have some medicines in your medicine cabinet, especially those medications that you don't use all the time and you still got some left. Medications you bought back in 2016, like let them go. Just let it go. Food in the refrigerator, it's expired. It's if it's 3 days, you haven't eaten in 3 days, let it go. Right? Let it go. Let it go, let it go, let it go. So what is it that you need to release? And then what do you need to develop? And therein is where you will put the intention. What do you need to develop? How will you intentionally make the intentional steps to move to developing? And then the next tool is called um, one new thought a day. Because I talk a lot on Mind the Mental Monday about the need to remove a thought, a negative thought, and then replace it with a positive thought. And so choose one intentional thought to practice daily for 30 days. Why 30 days? Because that is the amount of time that it takes to create a new habit. So, an example of that thought is I am allowed to evolve. I'm allowed to evolve. So I'm doing something different. This is something that I didn't do before, and but I'm doing it now because I can. I'm allowed to, right? Um, Tool number three for relationship boundaries. Ask yourself, does this relationship require revision, distance, or deeper investment? Does this relationship require revision, distance, or deeper relationship? And then the last tool is the 1% rule. And this rule is I don't have like who developed the 1% rule, but I know that it is a um something that my son really clamped onto, and who he always talks about, as he's a trainer. He's a strength and conditioning coach, but he also has his own training business. So if anybody's interested in, getting a personal trainer, he does virtual training. Um, so he can meet you wherever you are. But he always says to just focus on getting 1% better each day. 1%. Because a lot of times we think about where we are and then where we want to be, which is way out there somewhere. But if we just focus on the 1%, you know, yesterday I did 3 setups. Well, today I'm doing 4. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it doesn't have to be just those big, grand changes, just 1%. Just 1%, you know, just being consistent and intentional to make a little bit of progress each and every day. You'd be surprised where that can take you. All right. So here is your call to action. I talked about a lot of stuff, so if you need to go back and repeat this, remember that you will find all the Mind the Mental Mondays on my YouTube channel. Go to my YouTube channel and just watch them. Go to my blog on my website. Um, if you want additional training or help in these areas, and you want some one-on-one uh, assistance with these things, you can also, I am a life coach. You can also book a free um, discovery session with me for 30 minutes. And we can talk about it, and we can see if you want to continue with the service. All right. So you can also do that on my website. You can book that on my website. All right. All right. So new is not something that is just going to sort of show up. It's not something that you wait for. It's something that you curate, right? And so choose one area to pursue newness this month. Just one area. Write it down. What area are you looking to pursue newness in this month? Say it out loud. And then take one small step this week. But don't just take one small step this week. Once you take that one small step, be intentional to take the next step. And if you need a life coach as you're to walk alongside you or to ride shotgun with you to take those steps, contact me and I'd be happy to work with you. All right. All right. So that's it for tonight. I hope that everybody has started their new year off. I hope you've had a great start to the new year. And I hope that this has been helpful to you. And if I can be more help to you, let me know. And I'm here for it. All right. All right. So, Lord willing and the creek don't rise. I will be back next Monday, same time, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, live on Facebook. And then it'll be on my YouTube channel. Usually later that evening, it's on my YouTube channel. So, and you can read the blog that will accompany this. That will be up probably later this evening as well. All right. So I hope this was helpful. I hope you actually take the steps and use them, and I hope that they're helpful to you. God bless and have a wonderful week. I will see you next week.